Tring, tring.
Tring.
Hello.
Good morning, Design
Good
in Dava.
morning.
This is how we go to work every day in Amsterdam by bike, and we managed to get some bikes. Like last night, it was a very last-minute thought, but we made it. So we're very excited to be here today to share our enthusiasm about millennials. And the first millennial that I met when I arrived on Monday, it was Frederick from Snacks. I was really looking forward to meet him. I was already a fan of their work before I saw them yesterday. And I walked into the elevator, and there he was. So I introduced myself. Hi, I'm Cecilia. And he's like, hello, how are you? I say, which floor are you going? And he's like, I'm going to the 7th floor. And when we arrive to the 7th floor, he doesn't get up, and then he doesn't get out of the elevator. We go downstairs, and then I realize he's been going up and down the elevator for quite some time. So I had to make sure that he got off the elevator. And the next day, of course, he didn't remember me, but I reintroduced myself, and I believe this will be the beginning of a great friendship. So we sat together at the table, and I was wearing very high heels, so I was a bit uncomfortable. I took them off, no one noticed. But then I had to go to the toilet, so I looked for my shoes, and I couldn't find my shoes, and this is not possible. I mean, no one at the table was going to steal my shoes, right? So finally, I had to say, because I really needed to go to the toilet. So Eric Kessels lent me his shoes. It turned out that he was the one who hid them in the first place. So I had the chance to walk in Eric's shoes for a bit and kind of feel the transformative energy that his shoes were giving to me. So I realized that actually for all of us, the experience of being here for these 3 days is quite a transformative experience because we get to walk in each other's shoes. So it's really a pleasure to do that. I really hope that you get transformed along these 3 days. A bit more about me. Apart from my name that you already know, I am a creative strategist, but I like to call myself a risk taker. I think in the 21st century, job titles don't matter. It's not about the skills you have, it's about the attitude you have. And I have a hobby. With my friends, we dress up like skeletons, and we disturb stages. So when they don't know the musicians, we appear, and they call us eccentric dancers. So this kind of like disruptive attitude, I bring it to my work. So I told to my clients, come on, stop testing things, you know. Have a little bit more testicles. You want to innovate, and you don't dare to innovate. So this is the battles that we have every day. And I'm here today with someone I fell in love professionally 2 years ago. Klasien founded Zandschulp. She has a very difficult after-name to pronounce for a Spanish person like me. She's an interactive designer, but she calls herself a nerd, isn't it?
Yes.
And I thought I was very up to today with everything, working in London, Barcelona, even working in the Amazon. And then I met Klasien. I realized I was in the stone age of technology. And I thought, well, if we want to innovate, how are we going to do that if we don't embrace technology? So Klasien and I started to work together. We get requests from festivals. It's like, let's do about this project. I say, yeah, Klasien. I woke up in the morning. How about we do these glasses, you know, psychedelic glasses? So through virtual and eye stimulation, we can have actually the effects of drugs, so people don't have to take drugs to get high. And then Klasien thinks about the technology that will allow us to do that, and then on and on, we try to convince people to go on in this journey of innovation together. So we are part of LAVA. So we founded the LAVA Lab as innovation and research, part of LAVA, a really energetic and volcano-like agency. We are based in Amsterdam. This is the north of Amsterdam, a very upcoming area of Amsterdam, but it never looks that tidy and that empty, actually. This is a little bit more how it looks. This is our team, really lovely people to work with. And we host a lot of meetups, hackathon sessions, creative coding sessions. Universities from the States, from India come around. We always welcome everybody. In fact, you are all welcome to visit us, but please don't come at the same time because we'll run out of beer. And we always have beer in the fridge. We also had recently this squid soup installation. It's an art collected from the UK. We celebrated 25 years, so they made this amazing lighting installation, and we had a musician coding the lights and making a sound installation that was very immersive, and we had it hanging in our space for almost like 2 months. And we also have an office in Beijing, because one of our colleagues, a very entrepreneur, she said, I want to set up an office in Beijing, and Hans Wolvers, our creative director, he's the kind of person that empowers people. He say, okay, off you go, make it happen. So now we have 2 offices, Amsterdam and Beijing, but we actually work all over the place. We like to think that our work agenda is more like a band tour. We are here today, and last week Hans was in Alaska, and that's where he couldn't come, so we got to come and stay, Taiwan, Seoul, Moscow, Beijing. We're always traveling, and we define ourselves as world citizens. We don't believe in nations. I really have a hard trouble to define myself as a Spanish person. I just define myself through the cities that I live, and that's what we think as design as well. For us, it's a way to connect with people. For us, design is just something that establishes relationships. So I'm going to show you 3 examples of our work and how we do that. First of it is the Moscow Design Museum. It's about how to make an identity come to life. Well, or what good branding could do for a museum that is not even open yet. We, once upon a time, went to Russia, Moscow, and we met Alexandra Zankova, a millennial with initiative, and she had a dream. She had the dream to open the first design museum in Russia. So we say, you know what, we're going to join you, because, I mean, a country like Russia with this amazing legacy of design, it cannot be possible that it doesn't have a museum design, right? So we joined the initiative with her, and we start researching and find this piece of glass. In every Russian house, I don't know if there is any Russian in the audience, but you can say that I'm right. There is this piece of glass. Everyone's owns it. So I thought, this is great for us to tell the story of heritage of design. So we took it as a starting point. We look at the pattern in which it was designed and the huge amount of possibility it allowed with design. So we started designing around it, and we created a visual identity that was very flexible and very dynamic, and it was enabling a language. So in every item, whether it was individually or combined together, this language will speak by itself and will still relate to each other. So you can see here some of the examples. The idea really was to make the museum a buzz, because we always try to innovate with the solutions that we think of. So why don't we bring the design museum to the people, so the people don't have to come to the museum? So that was the concept of the visual identity. You can see now. But there was no buzz. So we had developed everything, and we had no buzz. And you know what we did? We did like Nelson Mandela did. We got our idea, and we launched it to the world to make it real. So we open up, we show everyone what our idea was, and based on the buzz. And we got a great amount of enthusiasm. Everyone loved it. That's her. And, but, you know, the museum still started to become alive online, and there was no buzz. Doesn't matter, but this made someone really excited about it, someone who was a bus owner, and he owned one of those typical Moscow buses, and he donated to us. So we finally could make this project come to life, and we designed the bus, and we could start touring, and this is how it looked. And then we went and organized pop-up exhibitions in other museums, and it became a reality. And now it's not only happening in Russia, it's also in the Netherlands or even in China, which we finally find very interesting, that people adopted this language of design and made it their own, and they even brought it farther beyond the walls of the museum. So they made it themselves. For us, this is how we understand design can help come a brand to life and connect with people. The next example I want to show. Thank you. The next example is about a brand you already heard before from Eric. It was developed by Kesus Kramer. It's I Am Amsterdam. And they developed it almost like 15 years ago. It's a very successful brand, a very interesting concept about identity, a city brand. And it's working really well. You can find it in the landscape of Amsterdam, and tourists love it. But a city brand is not only for tourists. A city brand should speak to investors, businesses, internationally and nationally, but most important, to citizens. It should talk about your identity, and it should not be imposed. And the identity of a city is very diverse. I am from Spain, and I live in Amsterdam. I want to feel an Amsterdammer, too. So we did this piece of work to build the identity and make this brand a bit more open. I am Amsterdam, we are Amsterdam. Third example, it's about how to connect with a different culture. Some time ago, we were asked to be part of the Beijing Design Week, just like we were asked to be part of this conference. But we actually, in this case, we left the conference. By conference, we went out of the streets, and we wanted to offer local entrepreneurs a logo. So we make connection with people, and together we create a visual language. And if you walk along the streets of Beijing, you can see that everything is like red flags with white type. Everything looks the same. So there's not really a distinction. So we took one of these tuk-tuk, typical Chinese transportations, and we pimped it, and we made it into a mobile design agency. So we went off the road through the old hutons of China, Beijing, and encountering local entrepreneurs. Sometimes we were driven by needs, so we were hungry, we will go to a food shop. When we need to drink, we will go to a drink shop. And on the spot, hands-on, we develop their logos. And this is a bit of more how the project went.
My name is Cecilia Martin, and I'm a graphic designer from Amsterdam Lava. Zandschulp, which we bought secondhand, and we pimped with our mobile design agency sign on it. And with this, we drive through the super narrow streets here to find the locals who want the logo. When we walked around here first, we saw that almost nobody has a logo. Meeting people here, it's always, oh, there's one restaurant at the corner behind the toilets or something like this. And we thought maybe it could be nice to give them a logo and for them also to think about what their logo would look like. So there's some choices they can fill out. This and talking to them is my briefing to get started. So he's from Dongbei, and his restaurant's called Dongbei Village. It's all about very healthy food in big portions, very generous, homemade feel. So I'm gonna go with this, and also this guy, you know, with all the tattoos and very masculine and big. So maybe it would be nice to do something in a sort of tattoo kind of style. And we finish it also on the spot. So when it's finished, we give them a USB immediately with PDF, all the files on it. As a designer, you always try to make something that people are happy with and they're proud of and want to use. So it would be awesome if one of them would really put up the logo outside their business and really use it, you know, like, yeah, so it's not just for my fun, but it's also helping their business.
Thank you. So these are some of the examples that came from this collaborative experience, and it was really rewarding. And still, when we walk down the streets of the old Hutons, we get invited for the noodle soup here and there. And so this is how we see design as a way to connect with people. But we really find in the last years that some of our clients really struggle to connect with younger audiences, the so-called millennials, because they have a very different way to engage. And therefore, we have done a lot of research to get a little bit through this mindset that some of us who are not millennials also share, but they find the contemporarity that we're living and the clash of ideas. So just to be clear about what millennials are, that born between 1980 and 2000 is a very big generation, and there is no consensus about where it really starts or ends, but you get the sentiment. There's probably the most important generation of the world. By 2025, it will be 75% of the global workforce. So, by the way, millennials hate to be called millennials. And I mean, this term is also very worn out. You hear it everywhere. 2 years ago was about hipsters, now it's about millennials. And they don't think they are lazy, narcissists, and self-obsessed, as many people talk about them. But they do believe that technology is something that really defines this generation, more than the generations before, the baby boomers and the Generation X. Baby boomers, for example, born between 1946 and 1964, they were the idealistic generation. It was the hippies, the peace and love, the breaking the norm, the conquering the moon. They saw the birth of the first computer, but also of the first mobile phone, although some of them are finding it hard to be on smartphones. Generation X, my generation, we were born between 1965 and 1980. We were the MTV generation, video clips, this really visual culture, pop culture, amazing, exciting. And hey, for the first time, we could own technology. I was walking around in my teen years with my Walkman. I felt so good about it. And then we also had the first home computer. This Spectrum, for many of you, is like vintage now. But for us, wow, that was great. We could play games on television, amazing. And we also saw the birth of the World Wide Web. We saw how the web was constructed and how the world became interconnected. Although the internet, something that was available 24/7, something you dial in. So back in the days, the routers will do like, and then someone took out the phone, can you hang up? I'm trying to connect. Okay. But for millennials, it's not like that at all. They went from 24/7 I used to collect telephone cabins because they're being removed of all the public spaces. So as an artist as well, I'm doing a project with that. Millennials is not only about accessing the web, it's about having it with you. So this is really a very different mindset. When we ask them in our research, they say, I need it every second, it became part of me, it extends my memory. It's like we are partners, so the relationship with technology is very emotional, not only to connect with people, but their mobile phones is the remote controls of their lives. They use it to shop, to find some hairstyling, to do everything, really. So they also use it to construct their own reality. This looks really nice, but maybe belongs to a different reality. And that's very interesting. Inventing your own reality, it means that you're changing very much the way you see yourself. It also carries on the way you work. There's the end of the 9 to 5. And bosses and structures, sorry, I don't like that. Cubicles, no. I want flexible spaces. I want to collaborate and fluid. And we are corporate individuals because we don't believe also in politics. Who lives in politics? They're not going to solve all problems. They live in themselves to solve their problems. I mean, look at the unemployment in the young generation. In Spain, it's like 51%. I think in South Africa, it's 57%. It's really high. So they are really also social activists. They will stand out for what they believe. And they think corporations should not be about growth. They should be about human value. They should be about purpose. And that's why you see many, many millennials becoming social entrepreneurs, inventing their own words and inventing their own business. This is generating an amazing boom of new ideas. How many platforms where people are sharing ideas, tech talks, people are listening, people are really open. This is the millennials driving it forward, the share economy, the new business strategies, the retailers that don't have a shop, the collaborative, the 3D printing revolution, the augmented reality, the artificial intelligence, delegating parts of your brain to computers, the efficient movement, fast tools, fast culture, fast platforms, and millennials don't have a struggle to adapt to that. They are even driving it forward. So and they believe in innovation as something that defines themselves. They think they are creative innovators. They don't want end products. They want things that they can mess around and bring it to the next level. So what should we think about end products? How about open source design in furniture and fashion? We saw it today. Someone designs something and someone else produces it somewhere else in the world. They don't want manuals and identities that are closed. They want things that will enable their language. So this is forcing us to think very differently about design. I believe that millennials are the Da Vinci's of today. They're driving a renaissance. It has changed the way people think about themselves as being self-reliant and innovators. So if you want to innovate, please work with millennials, make it experiential, and be efficient. It has to be about enabling something in the now. Break the bridge between the offline and the online. It's not bridge at all. This is something I face every time I teach in university. From one day to another, it went like this. I thought it was very unsocial, but I realized this is the new social, and I incorporated. And in this new social, Wi-Fi is the new oxygen. Thank you.
So, I'm actually a millennial myself, and as said, I'm a nerd. I'm an interaction designer or user experience designer at Lava Lab. And this is a photo of 2 days ago here in Cape Town at Cat-O, a creative technology agency. What you see here is called Duo Disco. It's a game. You play a song on your headphones, and there's only one other person in the space with the same song, so find it. So my work is basically all about unexpected social encounters. We collaborated with the Amsterdam Museum, and they just opened this great, huge exhibition, the Portrait Gallery of the Golden Age, which is full of a lot of huge paintings from the Golden Age. But they encountered a problem. This is the average audience that visits the museum or this exhibition. And they want to find a way to reach out also to millennials. Talking to the curator, we learned that the paintings are full of interesting and also stories that are still very relevant. For instance, about refugees and minorities or slavery. So we researched these paintings. We got into the archive and worked with the curator, and we learned these paintings all have really interesting relations to each other. We learned who is a cousin of who, what are the networks. There were a lot of power plays in that time. And we also learned personalities, what kind of characters these persons were. Is someone a jealous person or gossips a lot? And then we researched the millennials, who are mainly networking with their smartphones and not that interested in the artwork, the traditional art. And they're mainly not interested in these kind of ways of storytelling in a traditional way. So we looked in how do they network with their smartphones. They built their own language with hashtags, more visual, emoticons. And so we decided to use that and create a network of the Golden Age. Rembrandt van Rijn wants to be a friend. Who does not want to be friends with Rembrandt van Rijn? So when you accept this request, he starts talking to you, he starts talking to other people you see in the exhibition, and you will learn about his life, gossips. And this is how it works in the technology. We use iBeacons, those are little Bluetooth transmitters. So we added them in the exhibition space, so when you pass by with your smartphone, we can push an update to the phone. So in that case, also the millennials, we learned they don't like to follow a specific route or be told what to do. They just can go wherever they want, so we created a non-linear way of telling these stories. So, for instance, this painting is of Govert Flink. You see, it's an important moment in history because it's when the Treaty of Münster was just signed. The fat guy there is Johan Huidekoper. He is the client of Govert Flink. And we also know that Govert Flink just married a woman who is the daughter of the founder of VOC, a Dutch trading company. So he married himself upscale. He gained more power, more money. So that is why he probably got this request to paint this. And so when the students or millennials pass by, they learn more about the history. And we also ask them actually themselves to write stories. So we learned they really like to use hashtags. And also we found a combination. For instance, you can like it, but Govert Flink can also like a message. And also you can choose yourself who you want to know more about. Like Govert Flink, you can read his profile or read a hashtag page. And so every story we translated to the 21st century way of telling these stories. Like Govert Flink was painted himself in a painting, so he created a selfie. Hey, what's this? We get a message from Govert Flink. I think he's a bit skeptical about the work we show here, and I guess it's an open invitation to Rafi. So here you go. So we learned that the users of this app learned a lot more of the golden age. They engaged a lot more with the art. They started to chat with each other and laugh. And also Govert Flink can send messages to your smartwatch. So what we wanted to do is we want to create an open source system so more museums can use this and don't have to do the same work again. And also let art tell stories. You have the Internet of Things. This is the Internet of Art. The art can be connected to the Internet and tell the stories in new ways that fit better with millennials. The second case is how to improve workflows. You think millennials are early adopters, but actually the cows are the early adopters. They were already wearing Fitbits way before we started to wear them, and working also with robots. So what happens is farmers work a lot more with technology, the millennial farmers. But the problem they have is they get so much data in that they also need for regulation, etc. They are spending too much time in their office, and they hate that. And trust me, I can know it because I'm a daughter of a farmer. This is the farm in the Netherlands, and this is my brother. So 2 years ago, we got into the Google Glass Explorer program. That really was very interesting. So we got to research a bit how augmented reality glasses can help us, how wearable technology can improve workflows. So we did a lot of tests with my brother and other millennial farmers. And it's really interesting because you wear the glass, you can send voice commands to request data. So you are still with the cow, you're back in your core business, you can work with the cows but still request data like weather reports or even of one specific cow you're working with. Each cow, or this kind of cow, has a unique pattern. So with, for instance, a wearable glass, you can recognize the patterns and immediately get the right information of the cow you're looking at. So it's a really interesting way to incorporate technology in a wearable way to do your work. The last example is iPerform, how to create unexpected experiences. So we hacked the Van Gogh Museum. So what we did is, with the same technology as the Amsterdam Museum example, we worked together with Why Not Festival, a performance festival, and we worked with the stories of Van Gogh because we looked at the Friday night. It's a Friday night event. On Friday nights, Van Gogh the museum tries to get more millennials in the museum, and they do that by adding a DJ there and cocktails. But it has nothing to do with the work of Van Gogh. So we went into the museum and pushed simple animations to the phones of the users. For instance, this example, we gave them assignments to do in the museum that were really unexpected. Like lay down on the ground and imagine you are in the painting, you look at the sky. So this worked very addictive, so a lot of people wanted to download the app and use this, and also, especially because they were not even allowed to take pictures in the museum, they need to behave in a certain way, and this allowed them to do something unexpected. So they really enjoyed, and actually we got feedback of some of these users that they want to go back to the Van Gogh Museum again. to study better his work. So what's next? If you ask me what's next, innovators see the future in the present, and the millennials are the innovators. So it's important to always look into the future. And I think in the future we will, there will of course happen a lot in technology, but the augmented reality glasses, I think in a few years we will wear them instead of looking at the screen behind your laptop, but we will create a virtual space where we work in. This is Ivan Sutherland, from professor at MIT, who started already in the 70s with the first head-mounted display. But then it didn't become popular because the internet was the hype. So I started studying the connection between physical and virtual space already a couple of years ago. This is 3 years ago. I created the first virtual festival in the world. And we studied the relationship also. If you create, like in virtual space, an event like this, how will this connect to social experiences? Like together you experience a virtual band that's happening here. This is Sander Veenhoff. He's a new media artist. This is also 2 years ago when we got the developer edition of Google Glass and the Oculus Rift. And we started also researching that. So yeah, it's kind of, we like to make also jokes about technology. So I want to end with this. I think for us designers, it's going to be a really exciting time ahead. A website has so many rules in usability, how to design, where to put a login or log out. But in virtual space, these rules are not really set yet. So if we can recognize our hands in virtual space and start to design a world and interact with that, isn't that super exciting that we are on the edge to just start making these rules, or maybe there are no rules. So yeah, thanks a lot. I'm gonna skip through this because we're out of time. Thank you.